Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So as you guys know, this is where we interview people that are just literally crushing it in their lives and in their businesses. And we show you guys the inside scoop as to how multifamily investors are creating that massive success. And as always, we've got our co-host, who's the director of my massive action team for our Warrior Group, Mark Nagy on.
Good to be
buddy.
Back for another one here, and always fun hanging out with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So today we have a real treat. We have Carolyn Ehler, and Carolyn's a software engineer, and she's also a bit of a marketing guru turned commercial real estate investor. And she's 24 years old, which I'm going to throw out there because don't tell me what your hangups are. Don't tell me that limiting belief about age. I don't want to freaking hear it because she's already in 474 units, and that's multifamily and self-storage. And she joined our program just literally a year ago. And so exactly a year ago. And she did those deals with other warriors in the program, and very excited to have you on.
Thank you, Rod. I really appreciate you having me here. It's an honor.
Well, I'm excited to have you expand on your background a little bit. And like I said, just so incredibly impressed with what you've accomplished already. So why don't you give the listeners kind of an idea of where you came from, just to give us a little better bio, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Denver. I grew up in Northern Virginia, and my family's all from Northern Virginia outside Washington, D.C. So I'm still there, and I live with my parents. And I pursued engineering in college and knew I had the skill set to be able to do that. And once I got my job, my senior year, which is my now W-2, I realized that even if I worked this job for decades, I don't think I would ever really get to the financial stability or financial freedom or time freedom I was really looking for, even if I did everything perfectly with my 401k and getting promoted, whatever that might be. And COVID hit. So when I was in college, my senior year was when we were in just the thick of COVID. And so that was really devastating, but it gave me so much time to be with myself and to actually analyze what my goals were. So knowing my job wasn't going to actually fulfill all the goals I had in life and get me there the way that I thought it would financially, because it was still a great job. I started looking up investing. Social media pushed investing videos to me in COVID, and I went down the rabbit hole of real estate investing and figured I would start as the same way that my college house's landlord started, which was just buying a single family and renting it out to college kids. So that was my exposure to real estate. It was very limited. I don't have family that has a real estate background or anything like that. I just was exposed simply because I had a landlord and social media, and then pursued that, kept researching, studying. I got my real estate license the next year because I had no ins to the real estate industry and figured that would be a great place to start. So when I graduated college, I became a realtor. But about 9 months later, I had a mentor that was for, my realtor mentor. And he said, "You don't like this. I can tell your heart is not in this. What are you doing and what do you want to do? And why aren't you doing that?" And so I told him I got into this business to strictly just do real estate investing. I just didn't know where to start. And he said, go to a conference, go do education or something. You got to go pursue that. Stop faking like you care about this realtor stuff, because I know you don't. So I left my brokerage, and
You did Grant's thing, didn't you? Go to Grant's thing?
I went to Grant Cardone's summit, and that's where I met the group of warriors that were the pre-warriors. And then when they invited me to your bootcamp, and I went with them because I wanted to basically chase them and see if I could get into a deal, because my team's on the younger side in multifamily. And so Felt connected with them. They brought me to the boot camp, and we all joined the program there.
And the rest is history.
Yep.
Wow. So I want to mention a couple of things you referenced, because one of them was living with your parents. I remember I was a broker in real estate. Okay, I could have my own office. Back then, you could be a broker just with education. Now, of course, you need some experience. They got smart, but I could have my own office. I was smart enough to go work for a broker, but I lived at home the first 3 years, and until that third year, I made a lot of money. But the thing I want to mention is, guys, I get this question all the time: should I get my real estate license if I want to do this business? And my answer is always only if you want to make money selling other people property. If you want to be an investor, it's frankly a waste of time, energy, and money. And it can actually hurt you because you're held to a higher standard. You have regulations as to what you can and can't do with that licensure. So, again, only if you're going to sell. If you're going to sell, great, go get it. But otherwise, you don't need it, not to invest in what we do here. So let's talk about your journey just a little bit. As part of your journey, talk about any epiphanies that you had as you started learning this real estate business, any like major aha moments.
Definitely. I think that the biggest thing is that, all of my success is based off of my connections and leveraging them. And you have to be intentional about developing relationships with people, and intentional about then taking action after you have those relationships. And I've definitely, I heard at all these conferences, because I've probably been to a dozen now. Through all these conferences, I've heard time and time again, the industry is so small. Please preserve your reputation. So I knew I wanted to get in, I wanted to break in quickly, but I didn't want to do so in a way that is sleazy or made me look irresponsible. And I brought on coaches, and I think having coaches expanded my network. I got access to more and more people, but I also had direction and mentorship where I could essentially make sure I wasn't messing up, make sure I wasn't coming off as arrogant or too strong or like I know it all, because I don't. I'm 24. I can't know it all, but also everyone is new in this industry at some point, and I think that's been really important for me to maintain my reputation while I'm always building my network out. Because that's kind of all you have in this industry is your name. And that's been really helpful and in maintaining professional relationships, because I think sometimes that line can be blurred, and I don't know. I think it's really important to just make sure that you remain professional, and then can continue expanding your professional relationships with people, because that's how you get.
That's a secret to the whole business. It's a team sport. It's who you know in this business, not what you know. In fact, when I get new warriors on, I tell them the most important thing you can do is connect with other warriors, because that's the secret to this business. It's even more important than learning the business, which sounds crazy, but it is. It's connections. And, I want to reference a couple things you said, and that is, conferences. I will tell you, my most successful warriors go to every single freaking conference. All my competitors' conferences, of course, they say mine's the best, but we won't throw that in, but I did. But anyway, but they go to all of them. And you talked about coaches. Michael Jordan, at the height of his career, had 5 coaches, okay? Everybody that is the best and the best of what they do has coaches. Coaches bridge the gap. They bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be, and they massively shorten the learning curve. And so, that's why the Warrior program is so extraordinary. So, no, I'm really glad you brought those two things up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'd like to talk about, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I have coaches in every aspect of my life. It's not limited to multifamily. Yeah. I have a spiritual coach, like I have a discipler. I have a pastor. I have a personal trainer. I have like holistic doctors. There are so many different ways I have a coach. I have like a personal stylist. There are so many little things, and not all of those cost money. Most of those are actually free coaches that I've made through connections or just knowing the right resource to go to. And I feel like it's a way to improve your life and make your time more efficient, because you don't have to then do the guesswork or make something happen. A coach can actually do that and help you, and you can do it with confidence, knowing that someone is essentially approving what you're doing.
I tell people in the multifamily space, I'm like, listen, you don't have to invent the wheel. The wheel's already there. You just got to work the wheel, and in our program, we just look for people that are coachable, bottom line. So I agree completely.
Well, you had an interesting point that you said you went to Grant's conference and then met some people and then followed them to Rod's boot camp. What made you decide to come to Rod's and then obviously become a warrior over that weekend and take that leap with us?
At that point, I didn't know how powerful real estate conferences were. I had only been to one. So I didn't have a total context that it was going to be so life-changing. I was going to prove to my team that I was a player. That was my goal, was I wanted to show that if you have a conference, if you have an event for me to go to, I will stop everything. I was free that weekend. I'll book the flight and we'll go. So I wanted to continue to build those relationships. I had met so many people at the first conference. I knew I would go and meet more people in a different part of the country.
But those people had already signed up for Grant's real estate program, correct?
Yes.
They were in his real estate program. So why did they join another real estate program? I think is what Mark's asking.
That's a great question.
Partly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the boot camp is the best conference. I think it's very different from all the other conferences since it's so education based. And I think, Rod, you're a great teacher at actually explaining what the steps are. That's covered in that 90-day action plan in your book. But the other thing is underwriting and being so approachable while having so many examples on the stage where we have all the panels. So it puts both education and the connections are so visible on the stage that I knew if I joined the program, I'm going to get even more enhanced connections and even better education.
Yeah. So what she's talking about, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to stop you at that point because what she's talking about with the panels is we have our warrior we have panels, 3 panels a day at my boot camp. We've got, of course, you guys, if you haven't heard it, it'd be crazy if you hadn't because I talk about it on every episode, but the September event in Orlando, DM me on any social channel. You can come for $197 and I could charge $3,000 and it'd still be a great deal. But we have panels, 3 panels a day with warriors, successful warriors answering questions. And that's what she's referencing. So, and the reason we do that is so you can see the different personalities and the different backgrounds and the different, educational backgrounds and income backgrounds and see yourself accomplishing this because people have to see it. And like I told you before we started recording, I feel like we fail anybody that doesn't join our program because I really feel that way. That's how freaking awesome it is. But anyway, I'll quit pontificating, but I feel that way strongly.
Well, I think I was really drawn to the Warrior program because of the education, but also because of who you attract. And I think this network is so unique in that everyone is pursuing excellence and everyone is striving toward being an ethical operator and actually trying to help everyone too. There's such an element of collaboration to the Warrior program that I see in other programs. So that was my reason for joining.
No, that really was well said because I talk about peer group and how most people default to a peer group that they work with or they went to school with and it's critical that you proactively choose your peers, whether it's the warriors or not. I mean, if you're in your community, you don't want to do the warrior, fine. Go find a meetup group of people that want more. Get around people that want more because, there's so many people out there out of their fear or limiting beliefs or fear of losing you, fear of feeling left behind, all these fears and belief systems, they'll hold you back or they'll crush your dream. And so it's so critical to get around a group that wants more out of life. And so I'm really glad you brought that up.
Well, I wanted to touch on one thing that you mentioned there, that you're able to drop things, travel to events, network, meet other people. That may be an advantage that you're younger and maybe don't have other responsibilities of a family, et cetera. Because I get this question all the time when I'm talking to younger people is I'm young. How are people going to take me seriously? What does that look like? In what ways have you had to overcome your age of being young, or has it been an advantage for you and just tell those younger people that it's all in their head?
I think I've done my best to mitigate dealing with age issues because I've worked my ass off in my past where I was always trying to read or stay up to date or learn more, learn how to speak better, learn how to communicate better. Those all translate very well into into coming off as more professional and more mature and older than you are. And people can recognize when you have wisdom or the capability rather than just seeing your age. I have done really practical things, like I purposely dress a little older or more professionally when I'm at these conferences, wearing high heels, whatever that might be. So whatever that looks like for you, you can always leverage something like that. So which is really tactical. But the biggest thing has just been working on my own presence, building a point of view to be able to share with people on the market, and trying to educate myself so that I can show up and actually add value day one.
You're not trying. You're freaking kicking ass with educating yourself, okay? And guys, that's what we call a clue. She's drinking through a fire hose. So when you communicate, yeah, you are credible. You actually, you know the nomenclature, you know what to say, you learn more and more about the business, and people take you seriously. And I'm really glad that was your answer, because that's the best answer. That's the truth. Age is irrelevant as long as you educate yourself. So yeah, I like to ask this question, and especially for you. A lot of listeners and young listeners that I have and viewers on YouTube and so on and so forth that know they want to do something out of fear, limiting beliefs, comfort, whatever. They have decided they have not taken action yet. And it's a decision. But to not take action is also a decision. Those of you listening that haven't done it, you know who you are and I love you. But I want you to speak to those people that haven't taken action, that know they deserve more. They know they deserve time freedom, financial freedom, a life that they deserve instead of the freaking rat race. Speak to those people. And give them some words of encouragement, please.
Yeah, I might sound like I've been working on the education. I've been working on the nomenclature. I've been working on actually being able to speak and be comfortable on stage, things like that. But I want to emphasize that everything I've done in this journey was scary. And I look back and I remember how scary it was. There was no moment where it was easy or comfortable, or there were moments of fun, for sure. Everything seems very, very fun while I'm also freaking out and my heart is pounding. So going up and talking to people at conferences is scary. Going up and introducing yourself is scary. It's never not. It's maybe lessened, but it's never actually eradicated the fear. But I want the outcome more than I am okay with being uncomfortable. I don't mind the uncomfortability to pursue the outcome I want, because I want the connections. I want to get into a deal. I want to be able to talk with brokers, but I always am scared, and it's okay if it's scary. You just have to be more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that moment where you are uncomfortable will become your floor one day, and that will become your normal. And I've now normalized booking a flight and going on to a real estate conference with 2 days notice. That's now not crazy to me. But before I did any of this a year ago, that would have been psycho. And I would have said that those people are crazy. But now I'm in that position. Now I'm in that position where it's become so normalized in my life that looking so abnormal to other people has become what makes me proud of myself, how far I've come, and knowing I've overcome these fears. It doesn't eradicate it. It just means you've overcome it.
Yeah, actually, you've just pushed through in spite of them. You don't overcome them. You just push through in spite of them. Massive action mitigates fear. And you isn't she impressive, Mark? I'm just really blown away by by some of the stuff you're saying here. It's very, very impressive. And the fact that you talked about being uncomfortable, Tony Robbins has got a famous quote, which is the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of discomfort you can take. And, and those of you listening, that magnificent freaking life of your dreams is just on the other side of comfort. So I'm really, and I will tell you something, where she pushed herself. I'm a pretty intimidating guy, and not a lot of people come up to me, okay, especially when I'm in freaking go-go mode. But this girl came right up to me, boom, and introduced herself and everything else. So, you are definitely a poster child for pushing through fear. Yeah.
And I want to throw in a mental hack there as well. You talked about uncomfortability. A lot of people don't think about the other side of uncomfortability, which is what's going to happen if you don't do anything. A little mental trick, and you even mentioned this. I don't know if you've done this yourself, but you at the very beginning of this interview, you said, I want to do multifamily so I don't have to work for decades in a W-2 job. Right. And you have to ask yourself, which is more uncomfortable, working for decades at a W-2 job that you don't want to do, or going up and speaking to somebody at an event? And so
Love it.
people, you have to ask yourself that question. And it's different for everybody. You know, your uncomfort could be missing your kid's baseball game or whatever it is, but you can't just think about the uncomfortableness of multifamily. You have to think about how uncomfortable is it going to be if you don't do anything, and
the consequences,
exactly the
it's a little the consequences of inaction. Yeah. Consequences of inaction. Absolutely. Absolutely love it. So do you have any favorite quotes that you lean on? I'm just curious.
Yes. My very first mentor that I had when I was 15 told me success is never linear. And it was in context of me asking her, because she was a VP at her company. And I sat down with her and I said, how do I get your job? And she said, that is not a good question. That is not a good question. It doesn't matter if you get my job. Success might look differently for you, but ultimately how I got here, there is no equation. You can't follow some steps that I'm going to give you. You just have to pursue basically discomfort, accept that life is going to throw you a ton of random things your way, and sometimes they're negative, and sometimes you have to push through and work through it. And I realized then and there that I can't just wave a magical wand or follow some formula like I had in school, where I knew what to do, I know how to do homework, I do my homework, I get a good grade, I move on. That's not how life works. Where life, you have to make your own opportunities, you have to seek them out, you have to push for them, and the opportunities you get might actually not be the ones that push you toward that success. But the lessons you learn in that moment will get you to the next level and get you to the next level. And that's where you end up at that moment where you do look back and say, wow, I made it, but it was never going to be the way that you think it will. And now I've noticed that I was always the girl with a 20-year plan. It was never 5 years, it was 20. And now I don't have it, because I know now that I've experienced so much, every year I feel like I've lived 5 years in each year. And my goals change so quickly, because this is the craziest thing. I looked back. So after I joined the Warrior program, I got into my first 2 deals and got my 474 units after 4 months. It's pretty fast.
Good for you. Yeah.
And that shifted all of my mentality that I had any sort of residue from my past, like, immediately was gone, because I realized I could push through and I could get to the success faster than I even thought. And I looked back in my Bootcamp goal setting worksheet, and my stretch goal, Rod, was 5 units. I was like, if I could get 5 units by the end of this year, that'd be crazy. I don't know where I'm going to get that money. I don't know I'm going to get 5 units. That's crazy. Because that's the smallest multifamily deal you can get, right? So then when I look back on that workbook, I freaked out. I was like, I almost 100x'd that goal in less time than I thought possible. It's insane. And at that point, I was like, wow, I have to get new goals. I already finished my goal.
It's fantastic. And you have to, and guys, you do have to rewrite your goals. They evolve over time. What an awesome, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. So guys, if you're considering maybe getting some guidance so you can experience the life you want immediately this year rather than later, or, maybe you thought you could be more effective with goal setting and pushing yourself forward, text the word crush to 72345 to see if the Warrior program might be able to help you overcome that challenge so that you can accomplish what you want, and achieve that lifetime cash flow and get that financial freedom. And that's how you apply. You text the word crush to 72345 and we will look you over. You will look us over, and we'll see where we go from there.
A couple of these deals we haven't even touched on. You've done multifamily and self-storage here. What kind of person or investor would you recommend maybe diversify into self-storage, and what would you see as kind of benefits that you've gotten in that space versus, maybe multifamily?
I mean, self-storage is definitely, they're so similar, but they're also very different. And one of those differences would be automation. And self-storage is a really great vehicle if you're ready to dive into a highly automated asset. because if you want to optimize self-storage, you want to basically eradicate any sort of property management. You would want to replace that with automation for your self-storage and be able to leverage technology to operate it essentially 24/7, but fully automated. So if that interests you, and that, I think that would be a great, thing to research and see if that's something you'd be interested in. I think for us, we also just found a good deal. So it didn't really matter that it was, or it didn't matter that it was or wasn't multifamily. We liked the area, we liked the asset, we liked the land that it came with, and saw it as a really great value add property. And I think a lot of self-storage it can be run down, can be run mom and pop. And so when you come in and you value add and you automate it, I mean, it's a fantastic asset class if anyone's ever interested.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So let me ask you this, because you're young, you've got a social life, you've got your W-2, you've got other things going on. Are there any things that you had to cut out of your life to get more done because you are so driven?
Big time. Big
time.
Talk about
that.
For sure. One thing is, because I live with my parents, it does help because I have love and someone to rely on. I have added a couple of things. One is a therapist. One is I use him as a life coach. I run business ideas by him. I talk about my experiences at the conferences. We work through and process things. And that's been helpful, but I don't drink. I go out only for people's birthdays. My friends see me about once a month, never more. I don't take a lot of vacations. There are so many things that I've tried to, I try to audit my life every day. And if I notice something isn't going to work in that day, I'll reschedule it. If I can figure out a way to improve my efficiency, I will. So I really like the Warrior. What are the success calls that we take? The
high performance calls. Yeah. It's part of our Warrior program includes high performance coaching. We work through things like your courage to take action, because there's more zeros in these deals, and your ability to influence, because it's a team sport and you have to influence, and even things like productivity to systemize this so you're not killing yourself, and soft skills, honestly, like relationships, your mission and purpose in life, stuff that's bigger than the real estate. And some people tell us they get more out of that than they do the financial gains that they make. And I decided to take a real holistic approach to our coaching, and because I have regrets in some of the things I did. I remember, coming home to my kids at our $8 million mansion on the beach, and I would play with them, but I was never there mentally. So I spend a lot of time making sure people prioritize what freaking matters in their life, not just, the financial gains.
Yeah. And I would just love to add, I'm sort of young. I started at 25. I'm 31 now, but one interesting thing, because I hear this a lot from younger people that I talk to, I know we've talked about this a lot, is the friend group. Most younger people don't have a friend group that are doing what they want to do, multifamily investing. And a lot of times that can kind of drag you down, right? And when you're talking about giving up things, like one thing I had to give up, I don't know, Caroline, if you relate, is some of those friends that are out drinking all the time, talking about the good old days in high school, not reaching success. And some of those things are things that you have to, get out of that zone and get into a new zone. Stop being the big fish in the small pond, start being the small fish in the big pond. Would you agree?
Yes, I do have my friends from college. We lived a lot of life together and we've made a lot of meaningful memories. But those are the friends that I see once a month, and birthdays and things like that. It's great because I treat them like family, right? Like, you don't talk to your family every single day, but you love them, and we all know that we love each other. So that's how I would say I treat my friends. But when I went to, there's one thing that Grant Cardone had said one time which just was so confusing to me at the time, but he said, I don't hang out with people. If you want to hang out with me, you have to have done business with me. And it sounded really rude when he said it. And now in my life, so much of it is about value add in terms of my relationships. How can it add to my business? How can it add to my life? Because now they've just become so commingled. that I kind of understand it now. And through going to all the conferences, I've gone to a few that weren't multifamily, and a lot of times they have younger crowds, because multifamily, sometimes people don't discover it till the end of their career, or but by the time they have money to be an LP. So
Right.
I think a lot of people that are younger don't even realize it's something they can get into, but going to these other conferences that are more geared toward Airbnbs or flipping.
Right. Flipping, wholesaling. Right.
Exactly. I found a ton of other like-minded young women, young men that I have now become really good friends with. And they're the people I reach out to when I need help. They're the people I'm texting when I want to rant or something like that. And it's absolutely changed my life, because even in my college, I went to a good college. I thought everyone in my college was going to be like me, where we were all going to be entrepreneurial. Everyone had a side business.
Yeah.
Everyone was ready to make money and was ambitious. And I got there and I remember calling my mom my freshman year, like crying, like, no one has this mentality. Why did I get to this college if no one is like me? And I found a group of people that are more like-minded through entrepreneurship and through real estate.
So critical. So critical. I mean, that last little tip she gave you guys is so freaking critical. Who you hang out with is who you become. Choose wisely, choose carefully. You are such a treat. I am so grateful for you coming on this show. You literally made my day. Your energy, your intelligence, your motivation, your passion, it just has really filled me up today, Caroline. Thanks, you.
Rod. I appreciate
it. Yeah, I mean it sincerely.
You're my favorite.
All right. Oh, thank you. All right. Well, we'll see you later. And Mark, I'll see you later, brother.
See you guys.
All right. Thanks. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. You know, they're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. You know, and maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow. And they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now, we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.